Hi, everyone. It's Carol Williams with Williams Immigration. Happy Monday morning, and you are tuning in to another edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where every Monday morning I come to you live and talk about what's hot and what's going on in the world of U.S. immigration. So let's just dive right in. The first thing I want to talk to you all about is the proposed biometric rule. So there was a rule that was proposed back in September of last year under the prior White House administration that they really wanted to get published and effective prior to leaving office, although that didn't happen. Then we had all rules put on hold, and they were reevaluating them across the agency and, in fact, across the U.S. government. So this particular biometric rule is one of those rules that was reevaluated, and DHS has recently announced that they are going to withdraw this proposed rule. So we talked about this a couple of times towards the end of last year. This proposed rule would have greatly expanded the current biometrics that are being taken by the Immigration Service. They wanted to include more use of facial recognition. They wanted to take iris scans. They wanted more DNA biometrics to be taken under certain circumstances. And they also wanted more biometrics taken, or they wanted biometrics taken of anybody that was related to the application. So including U.S. citizen petitioners and sponsors. That rule called for them to also have their biometrics taken. So at the time we first talked about it, I suspected that there might be some privacy issues brought forth to the government about this rule. So I don't know what happened, but in any event, the DHS has announced that they are going to withdraw this particular rule on the expanded biometrics. They are saying that the withdrawal of this rule is consistent with the executive order under President Biden, that executive order being restoring faith in our legal immigration systems and strengthening integration and inclusion efforts for new Americans. So under that presidential proclamation and executive order, this proposed rule is being withdrawn. That does not mean, however, that the DHS is getting rid of all biometrics. Prior to this proposed rule, and while this proposed rule has been thought about, we still have biometrics. So we are still looking at biometrics for individuals who are in the U.S., who are applying for their green cards, who are applying for work authorization. So the concept of biometrics and, the biometrics then lead into the background checks, and none of that is going away. It's just the much more expansive rule on biometrics is now being withdrawn. But we will still have biometrics being taken. The government will still, look into national security issues and identity management and fraud prevention. So none of those pieces of the puzzle are going away. So that's very important to know. More on biometrics. The second thing I wanted to talk with you all about today, the Immigration Service, in an attempt to work through its current backlog, which I talk about often, which you all are experiencing, so that we know that it's a massive backlog because of COVID last year, and the offices across the country being closed for so long and, still not being back up to full speed over a year later. The Immigration Service has decided to suspend the biometric requirements for certain dependent applications where they are extending their applications, and they're planning on doing this for 2 years. So they're really looking at this to get into their backlog. And so the biometric suspension will be for H4s and L2s. Those are the dependents of H1Bs and L2s respectively, as well as E1, E2s, and E3s. So if you have any questions on those, feel free to let me know. They are looking at suspending those that have been pending prior on May 17th of this year, and have not yet received their biometric services appointment notice, and they are looking at new applications received by USCIS after May 17th through and including May 23rd of 2022. If you have already paid your biometric fee and your biometrics according to these dates will not take place, your biometric fee will not be refunded. USCIS is a fee-based agency. They are not going to return those fees. So just keep that in mind. If your application is pending on May 17th of this year through and including May 23rd, 2022, you will not have biometrics taken for your extensions on your H4s and L2s, E1s, E2s, and E3s. And again, if you have any questions about this, feel free to call my office at 954-903-1337. The last thing I wanted to talk with you all about today are what's happening at the consulates with respect to green card application submissions and getting those processed. So some green card applicants are applying for that last phase of that process at U.S. consulates. That is very, very common. As we know, as I have been talking about for quite some time now, there has been a backlog also at the consulates, and they are not up and running to full capacity yet. They are coming back online as the country conditions allow. So with that said, they have had to prioritize the green card applications and that they are getting. So they have created a 4-tier prioritization. And so that we are fully aware for my HR folks, for my in-house counsel, for my global mobility folks, employment preference green cards are in the bottom and last tier in tier 4. So if you have an employee who you want to consular process that green card, just know that they're going to come behind all of the family-based green card applicants at the consulate. So tier 1 are, immediate relatives, inter-country adoption, and your age out cases. And then the tier 2 folks are the immediate relative visas, again, fiance visas, which is still hung up in litigation, and returning resident visas. Tier 3 are family preference immigrant visas and special immigrant visas for certain employees of the U.S. government living abroad. So that's not our regular EB2 and EB3 processing folks. And so all the way down in tier 4 are all of the other immigrant visas, including employment preference and diversity visas. So again, if you are working for a company, you're working in-house as an in-house counsel, head of HR, you're a manager, and you're wondering when your employee will be coming back into the country with their permanent residence, employment preference categories are in tier 4 at the bottom of the list. So this processing, again, will change and be different based on the specific consulate and, how much that consulate is up and running at any given point, given their pandemic situation in each country. So that is what we have for Beyond the Soundbite today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below. Feel free to call the office at 954-903-1337. And we are happy to have a conversation with you about your immigration issues. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and this has been another edition of Beyond the Soundbite. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everyone. Bye.